Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive. Today we're tackling Legion IT Academy.
Yeah, we're going to break it down, see if they're legit.
All right, so skimming through this stuff, one thing that jumps out is how often Legion uses words like practical and latest technologies, the works.
Right, expert instructors, that's another big one.
Exactly. So are these just fancy buzzwords, or is there something more to it? What do you think?
I mean, it's easy to be cynical. You see this everywhere, right? Everyone claims to be the best, the most cutting edge.
Totally. But actions speak louder than words.
Right. And what's interesting here is that they actually give you some specifics. Like, they emphasize hands-on learning, not just a little bit. They really push it.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, they've got these cloud-based labs where you're working with the same tools that companies like Google and Amazon use. It's not just theoretical stuff.
Okay, now that's what I'm talking about. No dusty old textbooks. So it's like real world experience from day one.
That's the idea, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the tech itself. They also talk about their instructors a lot.
Yeah, the whole expert instructor thing. What's the deal with that?
Well, it seems like they're not just academics who've never actually worked in the field. They've got people who are currently working as, like, senior developers, cybersecurity analysts.
Wow, so like actual pros.
Yeah, exactly. People who are in the trenches every day.
That's huge. To have that kind of direct connection to what's actually happening in the industry.
Absolutely. And it's not just
Yeah.
about the hard skills either. They actually talk about soft skills, too, which is something a lot of programs overlook.
That's true. Communication and all that. It's not always the first thing that comes to mind with tech, but
Right, but it's crucial. You could be the best coder in the world, but if you can't communicate your ideas or work effectively in a team, you're not going to get very far.
no doubt. So they seem to be ticking a lot of boxes so far. But there's one thing that I found really interesting, their whole philosophy of no filler courses.
Oh yeah, that definitely caught my eye too.
On the one hand, it makes sense. Nobody wants to waste time and money on stuff they don't need, right? But is it really a good thing to be so hyper-focused? I mean, what do you think?
It's a good question. I think it depends. If you're someone who likes to explore a lot of different areas, it might not be the best fit.
Yeah. But if you're coming to us, chances are you're looking for something pretty specific.
Right, exactly. And in those cases, a laser-focused approach can be really valuable.
It's all about efficiency then.
Yeah, exactly. No time wasted on tangents or theory that you're never going to use. Just the essential skills you need for the job you want.
So it's all about getting you job ready as quickly as possible.
That seems to be the goal. But, and this is important, it's not like they're completely ignoring breadth. Within each specialization, they do touch on things like agile methodologies, which are essential for working in a fast-paced tech environment.
So it's a balance then. They're giving you a strong foundation in your chosen area, but also making sure you're aware of the bigger picture.
Exactly. They're trying to equip you with a well-rounded skill set that will make you a valuable asset to any team.
Okay, so far so good. But all this talk of specialized training brings up another question. How sure do you really need to be about your career path before enrolling in a program like this?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we're not talking about a casual online course here.
No, it's a serious commitment, so you better be sure it's the right path for you.
Exactly. It's like choosing a specialization in med school. You want to be reasonably confident before you dive in headfirst.
Speaking of diving in, let's talk about their promise of personal attention. They keep mentioning small class sizes and individualized support. Sounds amazing, but is it too good to be true? Especially in a field as in demand as tech.
You'd think they'd be packing students in like sardines.
Right, exactly. But hey, maybe they're doing something right.
Maybe. But smaller class sizes usually mean higher costs, you know?
Yeah, true, true. Or it could mean a super competitive application process.
Right. So those are definitely things to consider. But what I found interesting is that they don't just stop at mentioning class size. They actually go on to talk about individualized support, which kind of suggests a more personal touch.
Okay, now we're talking. What kind of support are we talking about here? Give me the specifics.
Well, like they highlight how instructors are directly involved in helping students with their career transitions.
Interesting.
It's not just about teaching you the skills, it's actually about helping you apply those skills to get a job, which is huge.
That's a game changer.
Yeah, and get this,
Yeah.
they even talk about providing mentorship after graduation, which is almost unheard of.
Wow. Okay, that's impressive if they actually follow through. It's like having a built-in career coach even after you're done with the program.
Right. But again, the question is, how do you know if this is really happening?
Exactly. Is there a way to tell if they're walking the walk or just talking the talk.
Well, that's where you got to put on your detective hat. Look at alumni testimonials, see what graduates are saying about their experiences.
Ah, good call. See what the word on the street is.
Exactly. Did they get the support they were promised? Did they find that mentorship program valuable? Those firsthand accounts will tell you a lot more than any marketing material ever could.
Absolutely. And hey, if you're listening and you've got experience with Legion, hit us up on Twitter. Let us know what you thought. But moving on, another thing that stood out to me was their focus on real-world projects.
Oh, yeah. They even mentioned partnering with companies for some of them.
Right. Which is huge. It's one thing to learn the theory, but actually working on projects for actual companies.
That's next level experience right there.
Exactly. It's invaluable for your resume, and it gives you a taste of what it's really like to work in the field.
For sure. Plus, the fact that they're partnering with companies tells you they're plugged into the industry.
Huh.
They know what skills are in demand.
Absolutely. So they're not just teaching you random stuff. It's all very targeted. But let's talk about another big one. Keeping up with the latest technologies. How do they stack up in that department? Because, let's be real, tech moves fast.
Tell me about it. What's cutting edge today is ancient history tomorrow.
Exactly. So how do you even begin to stay ahead of the curve?
Well, for starters, you don't just throw a bunch of buzzwords on a course description and call it a day.
Which, let's be honest, a lot of places do.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But with Legion, I was actually impressed that they backed it up with concrete examples.
Okay, so spill the tea. What kind of latest technologies are we talking about here?
Well, they specifically mentioned AI-driven testing, which is huge in software development these days.
Right, I've been hearing a lot about that lately.
Yeah, it's becoming more and more important. And they also talked about their focus on the newest AWS features.
AWS, for those who don't know, that's Amazon Web Services, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's basically the backbone of a lot of the internet.
So they're making sure you're not just learning how to use these technologies, but you're actually up to date on the latest and greatest advancements.
Exactly. They really seem to be going the extra mile to keep their curriculum relevant.
Which is essential in this field. Because if you're not constantly learning and adapting, you're going to get left behind.
No doubt about it. They also emphasized cybersecurity, which is, kind of a no-brainer these days.
Yeah, with all the data breaches and cyber attacks happening, it's more important than ever. It feels like they're really trying to future-proof your education as much as possible.
Absolutely. They're not just teaching you a specific programming language or software. They're giving you a solid foundation in the underlying concepts and problem-solving skills that will be relevant no matter what the future holds.
It's all about adaptability, being able to learn and evolve as the tech landscape changes.
Exactly. Because, let's face it, it's gonna change.
Guaranteed. Okay, we've covered a lot of positives here, but no educational experience is perfect, right? There have to be some potential downsides. What are some things that they haven't explicitly stated that potential students should be aware of? Yeah, it's like they say, every rose has its thorns. What are some thorns potential Legion students should watch out for?
Well, one thing that comes to mind is the intensity. They're very upfront about their programs being fast-paced and demanding, which, could be a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah, it's like drinking from a fire hose. You're going to learn a ton, but you got to be ready for it.
Exactly. And while they mention academic support, it's worth digging a little deeper into what that actually looks like.
Right, because support can mean a lot of different things.
Exactly. So, how accessible are the instructors outside of class time? Are there tutoring options, online resources, study groups? These are all things to consider, especially if you're someone who needs a bit more structure.
That's a great point. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of it all, but you want to make sure you're setting yourself up for success, not overwhelming yourself.
Absolutely. And speaking of practicalities, we haven't even touched on cost, which is obviously a major factor for anyone considering a program like this.
Right. We can't talk about future-proofing your career without talking about the financial investment involved.
Exactly. And while we don't have specific numbers, it's safe to assume that a program like this, with its focus on specialized skills, industry expert instructors, and all those hands-on experiences, it's not going to be cheap.
Yeah, you definitely get what you pay for. So, with all that said, what's the final verdict?
Well, based on everything we've seen, it seems like Legion IT Academy is doing a lot of things right. They're emphasizing the skills that actually matter in today's tech world. They're providing practical, hands-on experience, and they seem to be genuinely invested in their students' success, even after graduation.
But they're also not sugarcoating things. They're upfront about the fact that their programs are intense and that you need to be ready to put in the work.
Absolutely. This isn't a magic bullet. You're not going to coast through and land a six-figure job without putting in any effort. But if you're willing to commit to really embrace the challenge, then Legion could be an incredible springboard into a fulfilling and lucrative tech career.
So it's all about finding the right fit.
Exactly. No matter how good a program sounds on paper, the ultimate decision comes down to you and what you're looking for.
Couldn't agree more. You've got to weigh the pros and cons, do your research, talk to people who've actually gone through the program, and most importantly, listen to your gut.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, the best investment you can make is in yourself and your future.
And on that note, that wraps up our deep dive into Legion IT Academy. We hope this has given you the information and, more importantly, the confidence to continue your exploration. Remember, learning is a journey, not a destination, so stay curious, stay informed, and as always, happy diving.